Within 5 hours, 3 people were killed and 9 others injured in a mass shooting at a Planned Parenthood clinic in Colorado last month. The victims included police officers and several civilians. The motivation? Robert Deere, the confessed shooter, is an extreme anti-abortion terrorist. During his trial, he said, "I am guilty. There will be no trial. I'm a warrior for the babies." This is the reality that people working at abortion clinics live in fear of every single day, some wearing bulletproof vests to work in order to be safe. The culture of violence that has sprung up around the anti-choice movement is such that even in their place of work, abortion doctors are living like they're on a hit list, which frankly, they are. Ever since 1973, when the Supreme Court ruled in the Roe v. Wade case in favor of abortion, making it legal in the United States, there have been those who oppose the idea of a pregnant person having the choice of aborting. Within the anti-abortion movement, there has arisen a subcategory of anti-abortion terrorism, a group that maintains the goal of putting an end to abortions in America through violence. And unfortunately, while abortion is neither illegal nor fully eradicated, the falling abortion rates and startling decline of operating abortion clinics would suggest that anti-abortion terrorism, at least to some extent, is working. There are many anti-abortionists who simply see fetuses as fully formed humans and hold value in that life. But for most anti-abortion terrorists, the largest motivating factor is religion. Christianity has been used as justification for anti-abortion viewpoints and violence. Although the Bible never explicitly talks about abortion, certain passages such as, quote, "If men strive and hurt a woman with child so that her fruit depart from her, he shall surely be punished," end quote, from Exodus verse 21, line 22, are thrown about so that extreme Christians are able to kill abortion providers in the name of their Lord. They believe that the Bible's message is that their God has created each fetus and wants the punishment of anyone who would administer an abortion. Within the minority of anti-abortionists in America, an even smaller percentage actually partakes in violence. However, the reason that anti-abortion terrorism exists is partially the fault of mainstream anti-abortionists. Especially in light of the recent attacks on Planned Parenthood, many of the figureheads of anti-abortion are calling violence madness, saying that they only want to achieve their goals through peaceful means. But it seems like much of their rhetoric is conducive to violence. As New York Times reporter Katha Pollitt explains, quote, "When prominent voices in the anti-abortion movement compare clinics to Auschwitz, when they equate embryos with slaves, when Bill O'Reilly says that people feel fetal tissue donation is Nazi stuff, and Rush Limbaugh suggests that the way to stop abortion is to require that each one occur with a gun, it's not surprising that susceptible people will act on what they hear as a call for violence," end quote. And this is only too true. Troy Newman, the leader of the anti-choice group Operation Rescue, which is purportedly non-violent, has called abortion capital crime and says it warrants the execution of abortion providers. Additionally, the Nuremberg Files is an online website that promotes the murder of abortion providers and includes a list of targets set up by the American Coalition of Life Activists, a group that has not specifically exacted anti-abortion terrorism. These leaders and figureheads have influenced violent groups, like the Army of God, a Christian extremist group, to resort to terrorism. This is true even of the leaders of America. Ted Cruz, Republican Party presidential candidate, for instance, has openly stated his support and admiration for Operation Rescue leader Troy Newman. As a reminder, Newman has both defended anti-abortionists who have murdered abortion doctors and urged anti-abortion terrorism. In this way, anti-abortion terrorists have found their way into mainstream politics, so that even the man who might be President of the United States has supported anti-abortion violence. Violence in the movement began in earnest in 1984, when affiliates of the Army of God destroyed 7 abortion clinics through arson. Since 1984, anti-abortion terrorists have bombed, set fire to, and otherwise damaged hundreds of abortion clinics, and caused about $8.5 billion of property damage. Additionally, starting in 1993, anti-abortion terrorists took to murdering those involved with abortion clinics: doctors, nurses, security guards, and clinic employees. Since 1993, 11 people have been killed by the movement. In addition to the violence, there is a startlingly large number of threats and harassment directed at the clinics daily. And while a movement that calls itself pro-life probably should not be garnering success through domestic terrorism, there is no doubt that abortion is facing serious opposition in America. From the 1991 high of 2,176 abortion clinics, there's been about a 75% decrease, meaning that barely 500 clinics still exist in all of America. In fact, in 4 states, Mississippi, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming, just 1 clinic remains. This is because the amount of restrictions that have been legally imposed on clinics makes it financially or practically impossible for tons of clinics to stay open.
Nebraska's new law makes it a felony for a doctor to abort a fetus at more than 20 weeks.
North Carolina's governor says he will sign a new law requiring a 72-hour waiting period for abortions.
In Indiana today, the Senate there passed a new forced vaginal ultrasound bill.
States have adopted nearly 400 new abortion restrictions this year alone, which make it both harder to facilitate abortion clinics as well as for women to get abortions. Abortion is being restricted into extinction. Of more interest to anti-abortionists, perhaps, is the fact that the abortion rate itself has decreased by 12% since its peak in the 90s. So, about 1 million abortions are taking place per year, down from the high of 1.6 million in 1990. But it is not necessarily accurate to lay all the blame for the decline of abortion and abortion clinics on anti-choice terrorism. While fear is a factor in clinics closing down, there are several other things that have led to the decline of abortion. For one thing, the accidental pregnancy rate has been reduced as a result of better contraception and sexual education, and in general, the number of women who seek abortion has declined. And of course, a large part of the anti-abortion movement is nonviolent, but has still had a large effect on the laws regarding abortion. In many ways, peaceful protests and vocal anti-abortionists have been much more influential in ruining the abortion system in America than acts of terror, because many level-headed anti-choice advocates do not condone violence. The really scary thing about anti-abortion terrorism is that there's no indication that it's coming to an end, even if it's not terrorism that is furthering the anti-abortion movement. Robert Deere's Planned Parenthood shooting, although condemned by many, also had its support. And as they continue to harass and bomb and kill, it seems like they're winning the war on abortion.